morning. Welcome to our 40th anniversary of Independence Parade. We are coming live on SVG Broadcasting Corporation. With me this morning is Tisa, Harvey, and Sky. And my name is Charles Porter. Good morning.
Good morning and good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Happy 40th anniversary of independence.
Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I'm Kenneth Skerritt, and we're here to celebrate the 40th anniversary independence of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Yes, it is our 40th independence anniversary. We are happy to be here in bringing you live coverage of today's event.
Okay, on your screen now, we are looking at the flag party. They're trooping two colors, the colors of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Cadet Force and the national flag of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The parade is under the command of Assistant Commissioner of Police Richard Brown, who is a 35-year-old veteran, and the adjutant or the second in command is ASP Enville Williams. We are looking at about 19 guards on parade. We are about to witness the arrival of the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Colin John.
Happy 40th anniversary of the Vincent and the Grenadines. Welcome to this, the 40th Independence Parade.
Mr. Colin John is the 18th,
on the arrival of the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Colin John.
is the 17th Commissioner of Police.
Okay, our first commissioner was Major C.D. Maiden, who served from 1941 to 1944. Then we had Mr. P.J. Harley, who served from 1944 to 1946. Then Major D.S. Cozier, who served from 1946 to 1949. Then Lieutenant Randolph, who served from 1950 to 1952. Then Mr. A.H. Jenkins, who served from 1952 to 1954. He was succeeded by Lieutenant Sanderson, who served from 1954 to 1970. He was followed by Lieutenant Thomas, who served from 1971 to 1972. He was succeeded then by Mr. Robert O'Garo. Then we had Mr. Benjamin E. Jackson, who served from 1977 to 1984. Then we had Mr. Constantine, who served from 1984 to 1985. Then we had Randolph Toussaint, who served from 1985 to 1997. Then we had Mr. Osborne Court, who served from 1998 to 2001. Then Mr. William Harry, who served from 2001 to 2006. He was followed by Mr. Keith Miller, who served from 2005 to 2013. Mr. Miller was succeeded by Mr. Michael Charles, who served from 2014 to 2017. Then we had Mr. Reynold Hathaway, who served from 2017 to 2018. And as Mr. Porter stated, we now have Mr. Colin John.
We are now witnessing the arrival
of the Prime Minister. Alongside him is the Commissioner Colin John. Okay, and this way now he going to take the salute.
Since our independence in 1979, we are witnessing our fourth Prime Minister as he takes his salute. Somebody radio on loud. Loud.
Very soon we should be witnessing the arrival of
Please represent the Queen and wait the third arrival, which is that of Her Excellency the Governor General, Mrs. Susan Duggan.
And it is interesting that both conditions to Parade Harvey. You almost made it. You know what we are going to be witnessing today, but excellent conditions. There are three bands on parade this morning.
Mr. Enfield Williams. And see our several guards on parade. Guard number 1, under the command of Superintendent Timothy Hazelwood. Second in command, Assistant Superintendent Benjamin.
Okay.
the outriders are arriving. That will signal the arrival of Her Excellency
For the arrival
Governor
of
General
Her Excellency,
Susan Duggan.
and their credit.
Car now sneaks its way through the gate.
And today we have good condition. Weather condition is, should say, is clear skies.
Her Excellency now makes her way on the red carpet, and she is flanked by the
Commissioner
Commissioner of Police
of Police, yes.
and cadet,
There's
Captain, Prime Minister Lapson.
With
Away under the hut.
with our aide-de-camp, Captain Philip Cambridge. Number 1 guard is under the command of Superintendent Timothy Hazelwood and ASP Benjamin.
Senior Michael Stewart of the Christian Council.
Guard number 2, Superintendent Juliana Charles and ASP Marlon Coffey. Guard number 3, Superintendent Benzil Samuel and ASP Grafton. The Coast Guard is under the command of Lieutenant Commander Vinton John and Lieutenant Tyrone.
Your word says, you send forth your spirit and they are created, and you renew the
Party
face of the earth. At 40,
under
we
the
implore
command
you, Lord,
of
do not hold our sins and transgressions against us. Rather, reconcile
Lieutenant
us,
McPherson
revive us, refresh us,
and Swandy
renew
Ralph.
us. For we are
The
the people of your blessed isles, Haruna and the Grenadines, a people called by your name to sing your praises. You who have called us out of darkness into your own wonderful light. You who today have shown us mercy. Heavenly Father, we the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, thank you for our fair and blessed isles. We thank you for the luscious green of our mountains, hills, and valleys, the various blues of the surrounding seas, the golden sunshine which warms, and the fresh waters which cool and refresh us. We thank you for every Vincentian at home and in the diaspora, every Vincentian family, and the gift of our noble civilization. Give us today, we pray, hearts that are grateful, hearts that are generous, lives that are godly, and lives that are exemplary. And may all Vincentians aspire to act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with you. Today, as we celebrate our 40th anniversary of national independence, we pray that your Lord would bless us and keep us, that your face would shed its light upon us and be gracious to us, that you would unveil your countenance to us and give us peace. Father, we all Vinci children go into our tomorrows with the confidence that whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. For you are God with us, through Christ Jesus our Lord. Amen.
Monsignor Michael Stewart from the Christian Council. A prayer for the nation by a member of the Christian Council.
I remember we are celebrating our 40th anniversary of independence under the Queen, because of the national anthem.
Then we have the parade commander, Richard Brown, who is coming to report to the Governor General. So follow that is the inspection, is the Governor General. It's going to inspect the guard.
That inspection. She's flanked by
But the captain.
we have ASP Richard Brown.
SCP. So you have the inspection part today. Yeah. And there also you have the Commissioner of Police, Colin John. So number one guard is under the command of Superintendent Timothy Hazelwood, and second in command ASP Benjamin. And they are now number two guard, Superintendent Jillian Charles, and second in command ASP Acting Malian Cruffy. And SSU Guard, which is number 3 Guard, you have Superintendent Benzil Samuel and ASP Acting Grafton Samuel. Follow the next guard coming up is which is number 4 Guard, Lieutenant Commander Vinton John. Second in command, Lieutenant Tyrone Durham.
Guard number 5, I believe we reached guard number 5 yet.
They come in the flag party. Flag party is Lieutenant Alston. Second in command was Ralph. You have the number 6 Guard, which is Major Yvette Thomas, and second in command is Captain Ruben Johnson. And the number 6 Guard, under the command of T. Roy Paul and Javi Solen. The number 7 Guard is Captain Claude Bascom Jr. and second in command is Lieutenant Laurel Sears.
The parade is using the format of a hallowed square. That's why there are persons on the left and on the right and its flank. The band this morning is the mass band, comprises the St. Vincent Grenadines Cadet Force Band and the band of the Royal St. Vincent Grenadines Police Force.
And the band under that command is ASP Daniel Hall. There are 3 siblings on the parade. Coast Guard have leading seaman 215 Alex Bino. For SSU we have Dion PC 526 Jean Bino. And for the Royal Navy we have Private Zonel Bino.
Secretary, I wonder if this is the first time you've ever had that?
Yes, it's the first time. First time we have this sibling on parade.
And the last name, Bino, perhaps it signifies that they could be from the Grenadines, maybe Beckwith.
From the Beckwith, yes. I know the Bino is from the Beckwith.
We must remind our listeners and viewers that we are celebrating our 40th anniversary of independence on Dignitary. With strength, honor, and dignity, we stand resolute at 40 and beyond. And already, we've had quite a number of activities to mark this, our 40th anniversary, and I'm quite sure that they will continue for the rest of England.
So, Harvey, what do you think? The amount of persons we have here is over about 400 persons in the park or beyond.
Well, the park is not, we can't say that it is filled to capacity, but there's quite a sizable crowd. And what we're seeing is that a number of the patrons here are bedecked in the national colors. And some of them, I must say, very, very creative indeed.
Yes, because what I noticed from the years that I has 25 years I served in the police force, and I should say this year they're really decked out in the national colors. I can say today is very warm and sunny. I could remember past years that we used to have when you're on the parade, we have a lot of rain. And I remember in my days we used to have the helmet, and when you paint that helmet in white cleaning, and the rain come and it drop on the helmet, it looks so milky.
Okay, we must also remind persons that
white cleaning.
and today is Sunday. It is really the first day of the week, and what better day it is to have our independence, and we can see that the weather is really lovely.
So we just hope that it continue in this way, hoping that throughout the day it will be so.
Okay, so we have a list of dignitaries who were invited, and we have the ambassador of South Korea. We have Sung Moon Up, who's the ambassador of Korea. Miss Kutcheon Park, who's a senior research officer for South Korea. From the European Union, we have H.E. Daniela Tramakre, who is the ambassador to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean states, the OACS, and CARICOM. Mr. Herman Mansion, who is the senior officer of the Sector for Competitiveness, International Trade Center. From New Zealand, we have H.E. Anton Ojala, who's the High Commissioner. We have Mr. David Ojala and Mrs. Edna Ojala, who are the parents of the High Commissioner. From the UK High Commission in Barbados, we have H.E. Janet Douglas, who is the British High Commissioner for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, and her spouse, Mr. Anthony Forlong. We also have with us here today Mr. Steve Moore and his spouse, Mrs. Asma Moore, who's the resident British High Commissioner. Joining us also, we have from the UK, the Royal Navy Fleet. We have Captain Robert G. Anders, who's the commanding officer. We also have 2 or 3 officers from Mount Pay. We have also with us Mr. Alec Hicks, who's a Chief Petty Officer from the Royal Navy and Assistant to the Caribbean Defense Advisor. From the USA, we have Miss Linda Taglialatela, who is the ambassador to Barbados, the Eastern Caribbean, and the OECS. And the security detail for Linda Taglatela is Mr. Stephen Holder. We also have with us from the USA Miss Cynthia Cush, who's the US Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Western Hemisphere, and Mr. Brandon Atchison, who's the Political Advisor. From Sweden, we have HE Miss Elizabeth Eklund, who's the Ambassador of Sweden to St. Vincent.
Tisa will continue with the list of dignitaries in a bit, but we notice that Her Excellency has completed the inspections of the guard floor. She did the uniform guards and then the non-uniform guards. We see that ACP Brown has now returned, and Her Excellency now makes her way under the hut. So, let's continue to go through the list of dignitaries quickly.
Okay, so from Germany we have Mrs. Jute Koenig, who's the ambassador designate, and her spouse. From Chile we have Her Excellency Juan Anibal Barria and Mrs. Maria Angelica Olgui, who are the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Republic of Chile to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Then we have from Palestine, we have Dr. Linda Sobe Ali, who's the non-resident ambassador. And Dr. Alinda Sobe Ali is accompanied by Mr. Ishmael Odaneta and Jetson Odaneta, who is with the flight crew. From Venezuela, we have the Honorable Mr. Raul Licausi, who's the Vice Minister of the Caribbean Affairs at the Ministry of Popular Power for Foreign Affairs of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. From Switzerland, we have Mr. Didier Chasso, who's the ambassador, and Mr. Matthew Chasso, who is the ambassador's son. From Jamaica, we have Mr. Arthur Williams, who is the High Commissioner Designate. From the Republic of Nicaragua, we have Her Excellency Valdrak El Jaisting, who is the Minister of the President of the Republic for International Affairs and the Greater Caribbean and Ambassador to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. From Canada, we have Her Excellency Marie Legault, who is the High Commissioner. From India, we have Mr. Shrikumar Banu Prakash, who is the First Secretary. From Spain, we have Her Excellency Javier Maria Carvajosa Sanchez, who is the Ambassador, who is accompanied by Dr. Jules Ferdinand, who is the Honorary Consul of the Kingdom of Spain. From Morocco, we have Mr. Mochin Sabata, who is the Deputy Chief of the Embassy of the Kingdom of Morocco. From Ethiopia, we have Mr. Asford Dingamo, who is the Ambassador Designate, and Mr. Haile Mola Zegeye. From Russia, we have His Excellency Mr. Alexander Kumas, who's the Ambassador to Russia, accompanied by Mrs. Kurma's spouse. And from the United Nations, we have Mr. Didier Trubok, the UN Resident Coordinator of the United Nations for Barbados and the OECS.
We are now seeing the troop, which is a march past of the mass band, comprising the members of the St. Vincent Cadet Force and the police band. We are witnessing the march past of the mass band comprising members of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Cadet Force and the Royal St. Vincent and Grenadines Cadet Force. 2 drum majors, 1 bandmaster. There's a female drum major, as in the police drum major, and the drum major of the St. Vincent and Grenadines Cadet Force. The bands will now march again in quick time.
perhaps to get a better view of the guards as they pass across the hut. They're now making their way to the western side of the ground, and we can see that the stand on that western side of the ground, Skerrick, is really looking beautiful, because we have quite a number of persons in that stand, and the stand is actually painted in the colors of the national flag.
Yes. So you see that the guard, they are going to prepare themselves to turn on the eastern side.
You know, we've had military parades over the years, and we should let our listeners and viewers know that military parades are really, most time these days, are really ceremonial, and they still attract quite a bit of attention from persons, because we notice that every year a number of persons, intentions come out in the hundreds to really look at our military parade.
See what happened. I see a lot of persons like to see police. I should say generally the military march. Every last Thursday in the month they used to have that as police always march. As we say, people say that police is marching for the money. Last Thursday in the month, but actually it's they call it the commissioners parade.
And it also helps to instill a lot of discipline in persons, because it really isn't easy to stand and march, whether it's a slow march or we call and the one that you're now referring to here as the precision march, and then you pick the pace up when you do your quick march. But it really instills a lot of discipline.
Right. If you look at the and you scream there, that you see the police now they are doing now a special drill. So first is the change in arms. And everything you do is with the timing. The back is shoulder arms, present arms, shoulder arms, and they call that the port arm.
Oh, and don't the crowd love it?
Now some going left, right,
Yes.
some going right, left.
Yes.
Yes. See, that's a special drill.
Oh, and does the crowd love this?
Yeah.
So they are stationed just in front of the hut.
Right in front there, yes. So you see the Prime Minister, he stand up to have a good look of parade. Right
He's
now,
also
they
cheering
shoulder
them on.
arms, change arms. And that is what it presents, shoulder, brought down to the order, standard is strap there. So right now they at stand at ease, they back to attention and turn around. Yeah, bow turn. So they're facing each other. Yeah. And that person who is walking through that the guard is Station Sergeant Phillips. And that is guard number 1. And they are going back into their position. So this is, I think, from my recollection, is the first time like guard number 1 is doing this sort of drills. And they are back to their position. And they will advance, and they are back to their position. They stand at ease. Now the parade commander Richard Brown is calling the paraders' attention. Presently they are at shoulder arms. And now you're going to have the display party, which is the number 2 guard, which is all female, and you have the number 3 guard, which is SSU. They are going to form the 40, which is within the 40th anniversary of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Number 2 Squadron, the Commander of Acting Superintendent of Police, Juliana Charles. Second in Acting Superintendent ASP Police, Madeline and Coffee. They'll be forming the 4. While the SSC, they mobilize under their command of Superintendent Bexil Samuel, second Acting Superintendent Grafton Samuel, will be forming the 0.
So as you see it, they are forming the 40. As SSU is forming the 0, and all female guard, which is number 2 guard, is forming the 4.
Isn't this beautiful? All female guards. Tisa, what do you think?
I think it's quite lovely looking at this display this morning, especially considering that they're using females and males. I love that.
I think, as we can see them right in the center of your screen now.
If you look on your screen, you can see the 40, the display that 40, all female, the 4, and the SSU 0.
And I think the fact that the ladies are dressed in the traditional skirt,
Yes.
instead of the pants, it makes it even more spectacular.
Now we have the anthem.
This way, guys.
Okay, now you having the baby cannon that operate with the SSU. They now discharging the rungs. As we say, a gun salute.
Well, we say this is really largely ceremonial. This parade is largely ceremonial. The 21 gun salute really forms part of it. While we do not have armies, while we are not in battle, it's the 21 gun salute really comes still in honor of persons who are involved in military fatigue.
As the display guards is going back to their respective position. Well done.
Don't they look lovely returning into their respective positions? Back to the song by Kenneth by Britain Skate Celine, Our Nation is Born. Remember that song? That song came out when we first gained our independence. It was really, the song remains one of our most beautiful renditions for a very long time.
40 years ago. So from there now, coming up next, we will have the march past Slow and Pretend.
Good.
We got the mic is open.
Dano.
Parade is now preparing to do the march past.
You just see what people do. No, but we do TV or radio. 75 being radio for TV. No, you don't tell he cut off. The man back, listen. You don't tell he cut off.
Ralph. Yes. Guard number 5. We have Major Acting Yvette Thomas and Captain Acting Ruben Johnson.
That's Ruben Johnson.
Yeah, Ruben Johnson.
Guard number 6.
Guard number 6.
For guard number 6, we have Lieutenant T-Roy Paul and
Second, I see Lieutenant Javier Sule, member of the Royal Civil Grenadiers Cadet Corps.
so we have in the Cadet Corps.
Guard number 7.
And we have that's the armed guard, the Marine Guard, Captain Claude Bascom Jr. And second in charge, you have Second Lieutenant Laurel Says.
Guard number 7 is the Marine Guard of the Cadet Corps. In the second rounds in quick time.
So right now they are march passing slow march, and then now you will see that they will be march past in quick time. As they make their way in slow time. St. Vincent celebrating their 40th. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is celebrating their 40th anniversary of independence.
With strength, honor, and dignity, we stand resolute at 40 and beyond. And that's our theme as we celebrate 40 years of independence from Great Britain.
Politically.
Yes, and the parade ground is very spectacular. There's no forecast of rain this morning. can see the clouds are quite high.
As well as it's
The
warm and
yes,
sunny.
yes. The parade ground is bathed in sunshine.
So right now they, you know, there's a band. They are moving now into
Quick time.
Quick time.
Here's where the shift gears, as we say.
Yeah. So you see,
Guys who know us in there, you can acknowledge the temple is a bit
so
higher,
the
quicker.
parade commander Richard ACP Richard Brung is going to meet the guard number 1 to take this. So you have the parade commander Richard Brung, ACP. That's guard number 1.
Guard number 1 as it makes its way past the. And we notice that Her Excellency is on the platform. Yes. And guard number 2 now approaches the hut, so they will be passing across Her Excellency in a minute.
Guard number 2.
That's
all
all female, well adorned. Now guard number 3 from the SSU comes up.
Yes, guard number. Yes, guard number 3. Now passing coming up, we have the Coast Guard.
Followed by the Coast Guard, guard number 4.
We have the colored party. Guard number 5. Artillery. We have the cadets. Now is now approaching the saluting this.
Missing.
Now you have the Marine Guard.
So we now have the unarmed guards coming up.
Yeah, this is coming up now is
The Royal Navy,
It's the Royal Navy.
all intentions, which is headed by Lieutenant Shabaka Kenyatta. Second in command, CPO Glenn Robinson.
And it's all Vincentians.
It's the nurses.
Okay, he feels. We have the nurses.
We now have passing the Girl Guides, which are headed by Unika Morgan. And then a second group following the group by Unika, headed by Julie Peters. Next we have the Rangers and an unarmed cadet band. We now have the Girls Brigade headed by Miss Rosalie Hannibal.
Yes, they're coming up. Now we have the Seventh Day Adventist. Brantley Jackson.
And as you can see this here, the Seventh Day Adventists also have their hardcore.
The Seventh Day Adventists, they also have their band. And they are moving across the saluting list. Looking smartly going across the saluting list.
We have the Dignitary, members of the police team club all the way from Union Island.
Yes, we have the police youth club. They are from Union Island.
Behind the Union Island police team club, we have another police club on the village of Chapman.
Yes, so the one in green is from Union Island, and in grey we have Chapman's.
And you have the adjutant.
Superintendent Henry Williams, adjutant for today's parade.
The two guys, the two soldiers who make up the extreme end of the parade are the persons who are responsible for preparing the parade. Superintendent Henry Williams, he is the escort, that's the last person on the parade.
Brothers and one sister.
So you have leading Simon 250 and Alex Baino, and PC 526 Jean Baino, and you have private Zonel Baino. So Bainos, you have the Bainos as the sibling on the parade.
Coming up, we have an address by the Honorable Prime Minister.
Well, I think that is really one of the highlights of this. Over the years, persons people come to the park and trying to anticipate what the Prime Minister would be giving. And over the years, we've noticed that, he uses this occasion to make a number of announcements that become the talking point just after, and they continue right into the new year.
Right, because as what you said, Harvey, one thing that persons used to come to the Victoria Park to hear and find out any goodies that the Prime Minister have for them in store, So that is one of also the main thing too, that they come to the
the period is really
Independence Parade.
Close off with the song from Razam Shallow, Fight On. And it's a very appropriate song to end the parade with. Very, very appropriate indeed.
Oh yes.
And you would notice, Harvey, that since this morning when you described the crowd, it has since grown in
Definitely.
numbers.
Yes, and what we can see too is that we have a lot of children in here, particularly eastern side of the ground. We have quite a bit of school children.
Yes. And they're all decked out in their national colors.
Yeah.
Yes, you see a number of them holding the little flags in their hands.
So as you see that we have a packed crowd. A packed crowd in the park.
Yes, but the parade ground is really spectacular, and we have been blessed with very beautiful weather thus far this morning. The temperature is not overbearingly hot, so the troops on parade really would not be feeling too much of the sun, so it would not, it's more bearable than in some years that we've witnessed.
Yes, because I actually think that in recent years, weather has actually been quite favorable when we have our celebrations. No, Harvey? Don't you think?
Yeah, I really do think so. We notice to our left as well that the Red Cross hut is waiting for anybody. But thankfully we have not seen anybody who would have to make their way there.
Yes, because I was coming to that to see. I haven't seen anyone that faint, and that is one. Two, I noticed one thing we don't have on the parade for this year is the prisons officers. They are missing out for this parade.
Oh, okay. I'm scared. Yes.
Yes.
We hope we'll have them back next year.
Right. So what? Okay. So what that happened just now is that the parade commander called the parade to attention.
The Prime Minister makes his way to the platform on the podium.
Yes.
As the Master of Ceremonies now announced that he will be making his address. But one of the things we have to say quickly before the Prime Minister breaks into his address is that we must really commend the two police youth clubs for being here.
Oh yes.
And they're from as far south as Union Island, and then we have north up to that one came from Chester Cottage. It is somewhere there.
It's Chapman's.
Chapman's. Okay. The Prime Minister, now we move to his address.
Their Lordships of the Supreme Court, the members of Cabinet and Parliament, including the parliamentary representative for Central Kingston, the Honorable Sinclair Leacock. The members of the diplomatic corps and the clergy, senior public servants, police, leadership, specially invited guests, the citizens of this country of nobility and love, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, members of the parade ground. I would like for us to make a few observations about today. And I'm sure that you would have noted. First of all, we thank the National Lotteries Authority for sprucing up very much Victoria Park, and for the groundsmen who have it in impeccable condition. We want to thank them. Today is the first independence ever that we have our own female Governor General for the first time, Mrs. Susan Duggan. I want to acknowledge the magnificent work
of the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Richard Brown, for his leadership this morning on the parade ground. And for the leadership of Assistant Superintendent of Police, Daniel Hall, and the police band. They did a wonderful job this morning. I am sure you would have observed the number of women, teenage girls and young girls on the parade ground. They're growing year by year, and I'm happy to see that. I'm very happy to see a number of women who paraded this morning in the Special Service Unit contingent carrying their M16s to protect us. I want to say how happy I am too to see representatives from the police youth clubs in order to build discipline among our young people across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And particularly so for the youth club from Union Island to come and be with us here in Kingstown. I want to recognize yet again the tremendous turnout of the Cadet Corps, including the Marine Wing, and to say to them that I shall be calling their leadership pretty shortly for us to begin the process of initiating the construction of your long-awaited headquarters. I want to recognize very especially 19 Vincentians, representatives of hundreds of Vincentians who are in the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom. I met them earlier the week, a number of them, and we are very pleased to have them, and I'm sure their families are overjoyed to have them among us at this our 40th anniversary of independence. I want to thank our Trinidadian brother who is leading their group. You would have heard his name announced, but I don't know if you got it, and I shall repeat it. Lieutenant Shabaka Kenyatta. You would have seen him in front, beautifully attired with his locks. You'd have seen him with his locks. I want to recognize also someone whom I've been advised was the cadet who raised the flag in 1979, the original independence flag, Dr. Dave Yearwood. I think he's here also with his wife. Welcome home, Dave. We are happy to have you. And all ladies and gentlemen and brothers and sisters who are here, we welcome you to what is a phenomenal gathering this morning, and it is growing every single year, reflecting the increased sense of patriotism and joy and pride in our independence and our sovereignty. Thank God for today, the day that He has made. Today is the 40th anniversary of our nation's reclamation of independence. On October the 27th, 1979, 216 years after the commencement of the conquest and settlement of our country, the umbilical cord of British colonialism was formally severed, and the nation which we now know as St. Vincent and the Grenadines was born. Immediately prior to 1763, when Britain assumed suzerainty of this country, this land here was a self-governing nation belonging to the indigenous Kalinago and Garifuna people, led astutely by the indomitable fighter, the Right Excellent Joseph Chatoyer, paramount chief, our first and only national hero thus far. It took British colonialism nearly 40 years to defeat and finally subdue the Kalinago and the Garifuna, who waged a prolonged, justifiable guerrilla war to defend their land, their very existence, their sovereignty, their patrimony. In establishing a colonial state and the plantation economy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the British were ruthless and single-minded. In the process, they carried out a campaign of native genocide and forced exile of most of the indigenous people. They instituted the enslavement of Africans. Between the years 1764 and 1838, over 55,000 Africans were disembarked from slave ships here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In fact, up to 1807, when the slave trade ended. The British recruited also indentured servants, nearly 6,000, liberated Africans, Madeiran Portuguese, and East Indians between the 1840s and 1881 to supplement the labor of the nearly 23,000 enslaved Africans who were formally freed on Emancipation Day. Thus, within a 100-year period after the British colonized St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they remade this country by decimating the indigenous people and bringing to it a ruling class of Anglo-Saxons and enslaved Africans and indentured, liberated Africans, Madeiran Portuguese, and East Indians. Through the fever of history and an extraordinary process of creolization, this population mix, plus a small number of more recent arrivals, particularly from the Middle East and China, have fashioned an integrated society possessed of a core of shared values, inclusive of love of independence, liberty, the rule of law, and parliamentary democracy. Amidst all the pain and suffering to which British colonialism subjected our country, it also bequeathed to us at least 5 gifts: the common law, an independent judiciary, parliamentary democracy, a sound system of public administration, and the English language. Surely though, none of these reasonably justifies genocide, slavery, and their legacy of underdevelopment. In that context, we and the rest of CARICOM continue to make the just demand for reparations for native genocide and the enslavement of our African forebears. In our 40th year of the Reclamation of Independence, Renewal at 40, it is important that we correctly apply our historical lessons. First, it is wrong to ignore our history. We can't say that history is bunk. It has shaped us. We can't, secondly, sanitize or whitewash it. That approach is likely to deny us our very existence, our essence, thus adding to our burdens. Thirdly, we must not live in history and stylize our sufferings in a permanent victimhood. That approach will hold us back by having us impossibly looking forward to the past while other nations are moving to the future. Instead, we must learn from our history. Let it be a noise in our blood and an echo in our bones. And we must embrace that history to uplift ourselves without rancor, though with sense and sensibility. We must use it, we must massage it, we must come home to ourselves in a manner where we do not desecrate our future. Because of all time, only the future is ours to desecrate. So, most of all, I re-emphasize, we must deepen our understanding of our past so as to avoid the desecration of the future. We must hold no malice or grudge against anyone. We are not better than anybody, but nobody is better than us. We resolve our differences through dialogue. We are for peace, not war. We embrace partnerships and multilateral engagements. We reject hegemony and hold aloft international law, the precepts of justice, and the settled, time-honored principles which elevate humanity and the civilized relations within and between nation-states. Fellow Vincentians, at independence in 1979, our founding fathers secured the following majestic words in the preamble to our Constitution, reflecting the promises of our independence. And these were the majestic words. Whereas the people of the islands of St. Vincent, who are known as Vincentians, have affirmed that the nation is founded on the belief in the supremacy of God and the freedom and dignity of man. B, desire that their society be so ordered as to express their recognition of the principles of democracy, free institutions, social justice, and equality before the law. C, realize that the maintenance of human dignity presupposes safeguarding the right of privacy, of family life, of property, and the fostering of the pursuit of just economic rewards for labor. Since 1979, successive governments, our institutions of state, and our people have sought assiduously to give life and meaning to these very affirmations, freedoms, principles, and ideals. We thank all our friends and allies in the region and globally. And we have a large number of ambassadors, the largest ever to visit us, who are here with us. And we thank all of them. And I want to say we thank to our former colonizers, the British. We have no rancor with them. We have built a good friendship. And all our friends and allies overseas who have assisted us and are assisting us in the realization of our promises of independence and more. Our national anthem resonates with like sentiments. Its celebrated refrain teaches that whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. We accept in this regard the Pauline teaching, the teaching of St. Paul, that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But faith without works is vanity. Without deeds, it is dead. So we must do well. We must not eat the bread of idleness. We must think and act creatively, and as this folk spiritual enjoys us, to put a little oil in our lamp and keep it burning. We must not bury our talents. They ought always to be developed and utilized for the benefit of the individual, the family, the community, and the nation. And we must be caring to our neighbors to whom we owe obligations. The promises of independence will not be fulfilled unless each of us does his or her part in accordance with his or her ability and be rewarded justly for his or her work. And while we are at it, and we are on a dangerous, whenever we are on a dangerous Jericho road, look out for bandits from within and without who want to take us down. Since the dawn of the 21st century, your government, our government has embarked upon a quest to build a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy which is at once national, regional, and global. Each of these words is pregnant with real meaning. Accordingly, a bundle of cross-cutting issues for this socio-economic transformation has been addressed, including education, training, science and technology, poverty reduction, renewable energy, airport and seaport development, the physical infrastructure of roads, bridges, and buildings, health and housing, information communications technology, citizenship security, good governance, regional integration, and productive partnerships globally. In the process, the economy has grown and has been transformed and consolidated from one in which the production of goods was dominant to one in which services constitute over 80% of our country's economy today and employ more than 3/4 of the working population. The level of our human development is high in this middle-income, resource-challenged, small island developing state. There is evidently much for us to be thankful as we count our blessings and name them one by one. Investments are coming more and more. More jobs are being created. I repeat, the size of our economy is growing, and the condition of our people's lives and living are improving day by day. Better days are here, and even better days are coming evermore. Still, complex challenges lay ahead, from our internal weaknesses and limitations, and from the complicated and oft-times dangerous condition of the external political economy. These compelling difficulties include the existential threat of climate change, desertification, land degradation, and disruptions of our biodiversity, a scarcity of material resources, youth unemployment, social inequality, and intractable pockets of indigence, the aging of our population, incidents of criminality, violence, including sexual violence, and the challenges to citizen security, fake news, disinformation, and their negative impact on a functioning democracy, the adverse economic, social, and political fallout from the new machine age and artificial intelligence, the dangers of war, terrorism, big power hegemony, imperialism, and unrestrained monopoly capitalism, the disruptions and impacts of dangerous global diseases, and the unraveling of global order, multilateralism, and a rule-based system of international relations. Yet, these challenges and threats do not paralyze us into inaction and learned helplessness, or prompt us to adopt unsustainable approaches to development or any faddish mirages of the day. In partnership with other nations in the region, our hemisphere, our traditional friends, and globally, including Africa and Asia, we shall overcome our challenges. We shall remain focused and creative. We shall fortify our hard and smart work, and we shall be our brothers and sisters' keepers. We shall uplift our nation. We shall not be idle or faint-hearted, nor weary in our efforts to exalt every valley, make low every mountain of obstacles, turn the crooked straight, and smooth that which is rough. Thus, at this 40th anniversary of our reclamation of independence, we renew our strength. We mount up with wings as eagles. We shall run and not be weary. We shall walk and not faint. Fellow Vincentians, on January the 1st next year, 2020, St. Vincent and the Grenadines will take its seat as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, the smallest country ever to be so elected to that office by the United Nations General Assembly. St. Vincent and the Grenadines and our Latin American and Caribbean region and the rest of the world rejoice at our extraordinary historic electoral triumph on June the 7th, 2019. Almost all the representatives of the world's 7.5 billion people considered our country and its government worthy of a seat on the highest global council, entrusted with considerations of global peace and security, and thus of prosperity. An amazing accomplishment. Our visionary 10-year campaign for such an elevated seat at the global table succeeded magnificently, despite initial and in some cases sustained derision by unwise detractors at home, who always seem to have some reason to pull down St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And of course, there were some critics abroad. It is the same derision which at first met our visionary proposals to build a bridge over the vast Rabaca River, to construct the seemingly impossible Argyle International Airport, to carry out the supposedly unreachable education revolution, and to reduce poverty and undernourishment from around 25% of the population to under 5% in a 10-year period or thereabouts. Morning by morning, new mercies we see. All that we need, His hand had provided. Great is His faithfulness. Listening to me today is a very special group of 18 Vincentians who turned 40 years today. They were born on the 27th of October 1979. I call them by name and I celebrate with them and their families on this their birthday. Danieto Bacchus, Glenford May, Hyacinth Bino Cupid, Ayanta Radhika Richardson, Isabel Marcia Homer, Joseph McNichol, Carissa Gibson Stevenson, and she kindly urged me to do this. She's actually the wife of an opposition member of parliament. Kip Sutherland, Luzette John, Marsh Mercury, Monique Coffey Jeffers, Joseph Batiste, Nyasha Garrick, Rodney George, Rohan Simmons, Shola Yolanda Huggins Macmillan, Shelton Rohan Allen, and Yvera Woods. I wish them long life, and I thank Almighty God for them. Fellow Vincentians, as usual, I have a few special announcements to make. Actually, 20 of them in all, so bear with me. I don't want you to be thinking when you hear 20 that Ralph is about to call election. No. First, from January 2020, the monthly public assistance paid to the poor and vulnerable persons, numbering approximately 4,500, will be increased by $25 a month. Thus, the recipients who are over 65 years of age will be paid $275 monthly, and those under 65, $250 monthly. Our profound commitment to the poor continues. I expect that next year too. In the new year, the minimum pension paid by the National Insurance Services will be increased appropriately after the usual review. Second, some 112 nurses and nursing assistants in the clinics, in the community nursing services, who are due certain on-call and weekend allowances but were not paid for various reasons, will be all paid in full these allowances in their December 2019 pay packet. The rate of $250 monthly for the staff nurses and $125 monthly for the nursing assistants. Individual payments ranging from $375 to $28,875 will be paid. The aggregate of these payments amount to $995,332.56. I thank the nurses who brought this matter to my attention 3 or so months ago. I am pleased that we are righting this wrong. At the same time, I would like to remind all our nurses and nursing assistants who are doing overall a very good job of their ongoing obligation to deliver the best service possible to the various communities. Please do not let us down. You are very precious to us. Third, the final batch of teachers, amounting to just under 100 who obtain university degrees, but who are not appointed as university graduates, although they receive a graduate allowance, will be appointed as graduate teachers in January 2020. Henceforth, the appointments will proceed as a matter of course upon their acquisition of their degree. Fourth, as has been done in respect of the graduate teachers, Our government will embark on a similar process from January 2020 to address the position of the unappointed university graduates in the public service, roughly 140 in number. At the appropriate grade level, we will appoint them. The education revolution has occasioned a massive increase in university graduates. The public service establishment has to be reformed to accommodate this welcome development in university training. Fifth, in this 40th year of independence, hundreds of outstanding land title issues for grantees of state lands will be resolved to ensure the receipt of proper title. More distribution of housing lots will take place too, as the land surveys and the requisite infrastructure are done. The government has thus far distributed or recorded titles for housing lots in excess of 4,500. On last Wednesday at Cabinet, nearly 200 titles to state lands were approved. And tomorrow at a ceremony at Rabaka, 139 formal letters regarding these land titles will be distributed individually. We shall continue to turn dead property into live property. We shall assist our nationals always in putting a roof over their heads. Six, a Clean Up Kingston campaign is about to commence. The Minister of Works will make the relevant announcements. Seventh, the Public Access for Village Enhancement, PAVE, the PAVE project, costing approximately $6 million, is about to start. All over the country, on our rugged terrain, dozens of footpaths will be built over the next year as a 40th anniversary gift to occupiers of their homes in pursuit of easing of access. 8, a 3 million road cleaning program will be instituted towards the end of next month as a follow-up to the 2.5 million road cleaning in late August and early September. 9th, over the next few months, the Medical Cannabis Authority, MCA, will provide $1.3 million in assistance to traditional marijuana growers who have been licensed to transition into the legal cannabis industry. The MCA will also provide educational, health, and rehabilitative support in the sum of $200,000 to assist drug users who have a dependency on drugs. Further, the government will carry out a land distribution plan of over 200 acres of land on the northwestern part of St. Vincent for the traditional growers who are transitioning to medical cannabis. 10th, during the next 12 months, 35 or so housing units will be built by the government at the Lomans Bay area to accommodate the resettlement of the 35 or so families from the bayfront at Rose Place, the site of the modern port. Arrangements are also being made for the relocation of the boats to Edinburgh. I promise you that there will be a magnificent transformation in the people's interest over the next few years in the Rose Place area upon the completion of the modern port facility. 11th, a shipment of 5,160 sacks of fertilizer from Taiwan will be distributed to farmers at highly subsidized prices to boost further agricultural production. A grant free of cost of 40 sacks of fertilizer to each of the 16 registered agricultural cooperatives will be made. Notice the symbolism of 40. We got to big up the farmers. 12th, the physical infrastructure of our judicial system and parliamentary democracy will be strengthened consequent upon the recent decision of the government of the Republic of China, Taiwan, to support a soft loan of US $20 million from a Taiwanese bank to construct a modern parliament building and courthouse complex on 2 parcels of land almost obliquely opposite the headquarters of the Ministry of Agriculture on Richmond Hill. 13th, the commencement date for duty-free barrels and packages is November the 18th, 2019. The duty-free concession will run until December the 31st, 2019. This is the 19th successive year that this government has offered this concession. 14. Please keep your eyes and ears open for a number of national and community projects inclusive of roads, which will be formally commissioned or launched over the next few weeks and months. There's a large number of them, huge. One which touches my heart, touches my soul, is the impending opening of a rehabilitated building and associated structures to accommodate temporarily our indigent elderly who are at the Lewisburn home until the construction of a modern geriatric facility at the existing site at Fair Hall. 15th, 3 deserving nationals are being accorded the status of cultural ambassador. Kingsley Hero Roberts, pan player and arranger, musician, songwriter, and calypsonian. Peggy Carr, poet and veritable mother of our students in Taiwan. And Cherry Inns, who currently resides in New York. He's a musician, he's a songwriter, he's a musical arranger and musical producer. And there will too be an appointment of 5 sporting ambassadors. Elliot Maury Millington, a leader of men, captain of the football team of 1979, who now lives in New York. All blessings to you, Maury. Another member of that outstanding 1979 team, who also made the Caribbean football team, a humble man who still coaches and goes about his life and living with dignity, none other than Royalty Low, to be a sporting ambassador. And then there's the unsung Ian Sardine, football administrator, particularly among the young. Dr. Kishon Shallow, Vice President of the West Indies Cricket Board and former national cricketer. And Doris McIntosh, an outstanding lady in netball, who is tireless in this regard. And netball has been historically the most important sport for women. Please let it be reminded that the positions of sporting and cultural ambassadors are always under constant review. 16th, the project for the writing of a comprehensive history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is being elaborated through the efforts of 4 Vincentian historians: Dr. Michael Denny, Dr. Adrian Fraser, Dr. Cleve Scott, and Dr. Arnold Thomas. Cabinet has already given approval for the initial budget. The government will fund the project fully. 17th, during this 40th year of independence, a final determination will be made in time for National Heroes 2020 for the elevation to the status of National Hero of one or more of the following persons: George McIntosh, Ebenezer Joshua, Robert Milton Cato, and John Paminus Eustace. 18th, a committee is being established by Cabinet to examine, review, and engage in public consultation regarding the naming and or renaming of various public places, streets, and buildings. The overwhelming number of Vincentians considers that some colonially named public spaces, including streets, ought to be renamed. It is part and parcel of the exercise of remaking ourselves in our own image to fit our collective sense and sensibility. 19th, during the coming 12 months, a special efforts would be made to honor appropriately dozens of our citizens who have excelled in this or that uplifting human endeavor. The various communities will be asked to assist in the elaboration of a permanent honors rule as a fitting memory to our exemplars. And finally, the activities under the recently launched Sport Against Crime and Renewal at 40 will be ramped up over the next 12 months. And we need all hands and minds for these two initiatives. Fellow Vincentians, as a nation, we have made extraordinary progress, particularly since the onset of our people's social democratic revolution, following the anti-colonial uprising of 1935. Seminal tasks of that social democratic revolution have been accomplished. Many others have been partially achieved, and yet others are still a work in progress as the practical circumstances at home and abroad undergo alterations and change in every material particular. Successive generations of our people, men and women of all classes, ethnicities, status, and affiliations, have worked hard and smart to build this magnificent nation. Small in size and population, this remarkable nation, which we call our home and which is celebrated by right-thinking persons at home and abroad. The names of our political leaders: Joseph Chatoyer, George McIntosh, Ebenezer Theodore Joshua, Robert Milton Cato, James Mitchell and Ralph, and others, have been accorded the historical and contemporary headlines. But the ordinary men and women of our lands and seas have made St. Vincent and the Grenadines what it is today. They have made it magnificent, what it is today, with their daily unsung contributions. Our families, led by our indomitable women, who in their daily heroism also fathered us, are our solid foundation stones. We treasure them all. We celebrate them and pledge to honor them day by day, sweet Jesus, with our love, caring, and respect. I see today our elderly, unadorned but distinguished. They reckon weather in their heads. They wear their ages on their faces and wisdom in their eyes. They feel the keen commitment to their families and native land in their bones. They have survived the sting of the sun and the whip of the rain to deliver a better world for us. They still read the day's events from the dawn of the morning, and they deserve their quality days unto the sunset mask of evenings. It is blissful for all present here to be alive, but to be young is very heaven. Our youths in this their heavenly condition must embrace and feel the sunlight of promise glowing on their skins and stirring in their blood. To be deterred by nothing, to be not afraid of their future, and to absorb everything that the daylight of their lives offers. We lift up our children and young people. We thank God for them, and we envelop them with our love as our blessings now and forever. All of us present here today must endeavor to come home to ourselves. In this way, we get to know our beginning and our end. We are all time. Only the future is ours to desecrate. The present is the past, and the past our fathers' mischiefs. As we reflect on our history, its hysteria, its pain and suffering, its joys and triumphs. We choose not to lie down innocently and in lethargy, like a tired river meeting a turbulent sea. Instead, we make our own story from our history. We do so with a patience and a calm, but yet with all the energy we can summon, knowing full well that sun brightens stone, and a redeeming grace though not seen is always at hand, the melodies of which when heard are sweet, but unheard yet resonant are sweeter. By this amazing grace, if lost, we will be found. If blind, we will see how great thou art. As the prophet Micah advises us, we must do justly, we must love mercy, and we must walk humbly with our God. Happy 40th anniversary of independence, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you.
Independent message from the Prime Minister. And the first thing I should say that he mentioned the decoration of the Victoria Park, which done by the lottery. And looking at it, it was very outstanding.
He also recognized several individuals or groups, among them the 19 Vincentians from the Royal Navy who are here with us today. He also recognized the cadets who...
The cadet corps and also the
Okay, you have the departure of Her Excellency, the Governor General departs.
The Prime Minister is also departing. In his speech, he also recognized the cadet who raised the flag in 1979, Dr. Dave Yearwood, and he spoke about the fact that we must not live in history, but instead learn from our history, embracing it without rancor, and use it in a manner that would avoid the desecration of our future. He spoke about us being a nation that is for peace and not war. He mentioned that our people have served assiduously since our independence to realize these three ideals: freedom, principles, and ideals. He made reference to our national anthem, which speaks about faith seeing us through despite what challenges we may face. And he also spoke about the growth of the economy, in which more than 3/4 of the population is employed, and stated that we have a lot to be thankful for as the conditions of all people's lives are changing. But he also mentioned that these have not come without challenges. But also mentioned that despite the fact that we've had challenges, these challenges have in no way crippled us.
So the outriders are now getting ready to take Her Excellency out of the park. I know the highlights, a number of times persons wait to hear the announcements. He made 20 such announcements today. The first actually being the increase in public assistance, as what we refer to as poor relief. For the persons over 65, it will go up to $275 from its current $250, and for the other persons who receive such assistance, it goes up to $250. So an increase overall of $25. And nurses and other auxiliary persons within the health ministry, we noticed that duties allowance that had been outstanding, those will be paid as of January. So Tisa, we could continue with some of the other announcements.
Yes, he also mentioned that the final batch of graduate teachers will also be appointed in 2020.
And this is a promise that he had made a number of years ago, so he's just continuing on that.
Yes, it is. He also stated that unappointed graduates in the public service will be appointed to their appropriate positions or grades. He mentioned that the land titles to grantees of state lands will be given. I think he mentioned that will be given tomorrow, Harvey. Am I correct?
Yes, and those a number of lots owned by, that persons occupying from state and so on, they will be given, because he loves to talk about giving title.
Okay, he also stated that we would all be embarking on cleanup of Kingstown.
And that will be a welcome one. We really need to see that long promised cleanup of Kingstown. So and this would also form part of the renewal at 40. And he also said that there will be an extensive repair work on road and mainly footpaths, so persons in the villages and so on can now look forward to these. So we really look forward to these with great anticipation. There would also be an increase for the upcoming month in terms of the monies for road cleaning program. He's pledging another $3 million for the road cleaning program. So we should see some beefing up there.
Okay. He stated that the Medical Cannabis Association will provide assistance for the rehabilitation of drug users.
Yes, and also while he was on medical cannabis, he also indicated that some of the funds would also be used to assist the traditional farmers in coming up to steam. So we look forward to how these will really roll out over the next coming months.
Okay. He mentioned that as of November the 18th until December the 31st, duty-free concessions on barrels begin. So that's November the 18th.
And you know that is greatly anticipated.
Yes, it is.
I know, covering other parades before, one of the things, whenever he announced this, there was normally a big uproar in park. It was a little mute today, but nonetheless, once that announcement was made, you can see the delight on people's faces.
Yes. He also mentioned that 3 nationals will be appointed cultural ambassadors. These are Kingsley Hero Roberts, Peggy Carr, and Cherry Ince.
Wonderful. And he also mentioned, while we are on ambassadors, sporting ambassadors as well. We had Elton, I think, is Maureen Millington, and he was the captain of the team, the football team in 1979 that defeated Suriname. And incidentally, this year, while we celebrate our 40th, Vincey Heats again defeated Suriname. So we really had repeated that. So
some years down the road, we can expect our current captain to come into public focus.
Yes.
35 units, he said, will be built in the coming year. 35 housing units will be built in Lomans, and that is to accommodate the persons who they will be moving from the Rose Place area to make allowance for the new potent facility that will be moved down there. But as we said, Skerrit, we noticed that the band has now struck up, and the paraders are involved again. Could you take us through?
Yes, actually we have now the guard number 1, was led by Superintendent Hazelwood. They are now making their way out of the Victoria Park.
Yes, they're about to head up town
And which
for the Uptown Salute,
salute
in front of the financial complex.
And we know that we have also the persons who now has been sport ambassador. That's from my recollection. We have Sardine, also one of the persons. Macintosh.
The Prime Minister in his speech also noted that there will be commendation of persons who have been outstanding in their communities. And he also spoke about the fact that we are about to embark on a project for the writing of Vincentian history.
Yes, as I continue, we have royalty law. Ian Sardine, Kishon Shallow, and Doris McIntosh were the 5 sporting ambassadors. Okay, I wanted to thank each and everyone for viewing and listening to our 40th anniversary Independence Military Parade. And it's very warm and sunny, so I want to thank all the announcers. Yes, Harvey Farrell.
Okay, yes, it was really a pleasure being with you here on our 40th anniversary, and we look forward to meeting you again next year as we cover number 41.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was indeed a pleasure being here as we celebrate our 40th anniversary of independence. And I do look forward to being with you next year.
Great day.
It was indeed.
Thank you very much. Harvey, your answer. Sky and Tisa. Oh.
Okay.
It was a wonderful day. Harvey, Sky, Tisa, and What a guy name again? Oh, Paul. No, his name Paul. Hassan, Gun, and his kids. And wait, my good buddy Pico. We looking out for you, man. You good. Wife and kids. On behalf of SVG Broadcasting, Nice Radio, and all the radio stations who have connecting to us, happy Independence. Cap, nice welcoming you. Hope you come back next year. Give me all of that. Just give me all. No, just give me all. No, boy, give me all the documents. I just got right from them. Give me them. No, all the things I just got. Boy, I say, you see that you trouble. Next year I tell you don't come back.